wasn't. All right, guys, here we go. Hey, 7-2. You fired up? 7-2, baby.
Woo.
How about that, man? Go over to Frankfurt, go to Berlin and get a W. It was beautiful. How about that? 7-2, baby. Yep. Had a good time over there. The Dolphins, yeah, hey, they're 6-2, another AFC power to get a W. How come nobody in Kansas City feels good about being 7-2 and beating one of the best teams?
I feel good
supposedly in
about
the
it.
AFC?
I'm fine.
Are you?
I'm
Are
in a
you
good
fine?
mood.
Okay.
It's a
So
bye
you're the
week.
old
I got time off.
You got okay.
Chiefs are 7-2. We're rolling right now.
Yeah. Okay. Bye week. Yeah. I don't know why when I hear Patrick Mahomes say, "I mean, we're gonna figure this offense thing out. We're gonna figure this offense thing out." Like, I maybe one of the first times ever, he got hit with a Ron Hughley eye roll. One of the first times of, okay, Josh. Okay, man. All right, man. Just, hey, why don't you just like I'm almost to a point. Like it was 21-0, and I said, "Hey, man, just don't mess it up." Hey, man, we got like just don't. Like I said it. I sent out a tweet. I said the only way the Dolphins get back in this game is if the Chiefs help them. And like I do want to because I want to start up because there are obvious issues that we need to attack and address. I want to start out with a couple of things though, like just to the point of it is, and I just you guys can quickly answer. Andy Reid, best effort in Sunday's game?
No, I mean no.
I'm
assuming this is what you're looking for. I'm going to say no, but
I don't. I mean, hell, if you
Andy needed the bye too. He needs.
If you say yes, then you answer honestly. I don't think so, but Andy.
No, my honest answer is a definitive no.
Patrick Mahomes, best effort?
No.
God, no. Travis Kelce. I mean, I understand what happened, but I mean, you go 3 for 14. I mean, you're not heavily.
He still became the all-time leading receiving yardage record.
Yeah, good for you.
I don't think it was on Kelce. I think we have seen at this point, and I know Chiefs fans are going to get mad at me for saying I think Kelce slowed down, and I think that he is having a tougher time getting the explosive plays. And I think on Sunday the Dolphins said anybody but Kelce. He's not beating us, and they took him away. So I don't think that was Kelce's fault, but to answer your question,
he didn't impact. He wasn't a major. No, he wasn't a major impact. This was not a Kelce big game. Chris Jones.
No. Oh God, no.
Those are Chris Jones did what he could to try to hurt you, but those are the 4 Hall of Fame level players that you have on this team, like almost bona fide. 3 of them are, and Chris Jones. None of them were great. None of them were great. And you played who had the same record as you in the AFC, and you won. And none of your 4 cornerstone great players were great. And some of them weren't even close to it. And you still won the game. And I know we're going to talk about the offense. And I know people talk about the offense. But, man, I have been a believer in the Chiefs defense. I said last week, hey, we got to start looking at this as this might be the best defense in football. And then they went and did a number on the Dolphins and gave up 14 points, which really shouldn't have been 14 because Patrick Mahomes helped them in the Chiefs offense with the fumble. And then Chris Jones wanted to add on it and make this a tougher game than it had to be. So at the very least, it should have been 10. Fellas, I'm a believer. I didn't think they were going to go and do that. I didn't think they were going to handcuff those receivers and they're so physical. I thought it was Dale Carter and James Hasty out there just beating them up on the line of scrimmage. And this defense is even better than I thought it was.
It's awesome. And I don't think it's the best in the NFL. I think it's 2 or 3. I think Baltimore boasts the best defense in the league right now. If you look at some of the numbers that they're putting up, man, it's the best since the 2000 Ravens. But we said this a couple of weeks ago, dude. This is the year of the defense, and among the great defensive performances around the league, the Chiefs legitimately stand out. And it's because, in part, Ron, this is based on the number of snaps that they're getting from these guys. If you adjust for the snap counts, the youngest defense in the league. There is no defense that is younger on average than the Kansas City Chiefs. And yet, they are putting together a performance that is, I mean, conservatively speaking, top 3 to 5 in the NFL. Nobody could have seen this coming. We all thought that this could be the deepest defense that the Chiefs have had, but that was compared to bad defenses for the most part. The Chiefs haven't been good defensively in recent years. You don't even have to adjust for the Chiefs tax. This is just an excellent defense regardless of who you compare them to. It's so much fun to watch, and the last thing that I needed to see them do, Ron, was do it against an opponent like that. Do it against Tyreek Hill. Do it against Tua Tagovailoa. Do it against an offensive coordinator that's going to find ways to exploit your weaknesses. And despite all of that, man, the Chiefs scored 7 on defense, and the Dolphins scored 14 on offense. That is unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I had no idea that they would put I thought the secondary was good. And that's the other part. Chris Jones wasn't dominant. Like Chris Jones wasn't that. I think he took up double teams and he was impacted the game because he allowed others to go single coverage. And I mean, and they got pressure on him and made him move off his spot. But it's not like you're a great player. But we got to start saying this though. And I think maybe like Trent McDuffie and L'Jarius Sneed are great players too. Like they're great players as well, and so they were great. I mean, L'Jarius Sneed again, primarily covering Tyreek Hill. It's the second time they've done this. Where like Justin Jefferson earlier this year and Tyreek Hill, trust me, who's on my fantasy team, bangs out 60-something yards, and it's just like the physicality that they play with. I mean, they didn't care how many illegal hands to the face or holdings they got off the line of scrimmage for 5 yards. They were going to be in their grill, and you see McDuffie running stride for stride with Tyreek across the field and then making, obviously, the impact play of the game with the strip, and then, them going Travis Kelce and just pitching the ball to people, and Brian Cook, high knees Cook, all the way up and down the sideline. And it is just ridiculous. And the part that gets me as you look at kind of the broader thing is like the Chiefs get away with this. And this is going to be one of the things that potentially are the good luck, the luck charms, the fortunate thing in this run is they kind of have a cheat code with Steve Spagnuolo. He's not going anywhere. Like he's not going to leave to get a job, right? He's not going to get another head coaching job. He is going to be the Chiefs defensive coordinator for as long as he wants to be. And he appears to be getting better. Like you can see, like sometimes it's like, oh man, some players, boy, they just play great. No, man, those blitzes that he's scheming up to get McDuffie and getting him in, getting Wharton sacks, the pressure he's able to get to throw off the timing, and he's going nowhere. Nobody's hiring him as a head coach. And this could be the start of something for a very long time. And this dude is like Benjamin Button or something. He's getting better with age. I mean, it's insane, this Chiefs defense.
I think it was never more apparent than this game against the Dolphins that like what the Chiefs have been doing over the last couple of years, rebuilding this defense through the draft, was they were identifying a specific kind of player that fits in Steve Spagnuolo's system and fitting them and finding identity types, athletic profile types that fit what he wants to do defensively, because he, more so than almost any defensive coordinator in the NFL, really asks his guys in the secondary to do a lot. Like they're going to play a lot of press man coverage. His safeties are going to be really active. They're going to move all over the field. They're going to have to come up, make tackles. They're going to have to blitz. He's going to send corners on blitzes and like do all of that stuff. And in years past, he's had like a couple of pieces that fit that mold, like Tyrann Mathieu when he was still a great player, and L'Jarius Sneed in his development over the last couple of years. But now the entire defense is loaded with those guys. And so Spags is over here just playing at the best version of himself that he possibly could be. But I think too, like even going into that game, and we've already seen the secondary lockdown number one wide receivers and some of the best pass catchers in the NFL. Coming into the season, we talked about Chris Jones and why everything was built around him. I don't think it's built around Chris Jones necessarily anymore. It's built around the secondary. Like, it's built around what those guys are doing and how special they've been so far this season, because the pass rush has been great. But like, it was never more apparent to me than against the Dolphins, who want to get things out quick. They want to move the ball. They want to throw the ball quick. Tua couldn't throw the ball quick simply because there was nobody to throw the ball to, because the secondary had everything locked down. And that's what was leading to pressure at the end of the day. Like, the defense is playing well and playing at such an elite level because the secondary is helping everything else out. And then it's all moving forward to the pass rush. It was an incredible performance. I've never been more impressed with them, and they've been elite all season, basically.
I know last week, Ron.
Go ahead.
I know last week, Ron, there was a lot of conversations about the Tyreek Hill trade, and would the Chiefs have been better off by just keeping him because now they have so many issues with their wide receiver core. And this was just another reminder in this game of why they made that trade. Now, you can agree with it or disagree with it. I didn't like it at the time, but I understood it. I understood the logic behind it. And what Serda is saying there about both the youth and the depth that they have been able to develop defensively via free agency as well, because they went out and they got Drew Tranquil. They went out and they got Mike Edwards this offseason. They signed Charles Omenihu to be able to add to the depth of this defense. That is all possible because of the picks and the money that they have from that deal. I mean, it shouldn't be lost on anybody that the guy that caused that fumble by Tyreek Hill was the one that they selected with the pick in which they received from the Tyreek Hill trade in Trent McDuffie. And then the other guy that ended up running it in Brian Cook was a guy that you were able to get because you had excess draft capital. So like, these are the kinds of things that are possible when you make these bold decisions. Brett Veach is on a heater right now when it comes to what he's doing on the defensive side of the football. Now, we'll get to the offense and we'll get to some of the issues on that side of the ball. But on defense, between he and Steve Spagnuolo and what they've been able to do, melding together the belief system, melding together the identity of what they want that defense to be, we are seeing it come to a crescendo right now. And it is, I mean, it's so much better than any of us could have possibly expected it to be. And Serda's also right. It is from the secondary in. That is how they've built this thing.
See, what I was going to say was, like, yeah, I still think in parts it's built kind of around Chris, but they've shown it doesn't have to be. They've shown they can be like they not just good, they can be dominant without him being dominant. And then it's just a whole nother level when he's unblockable, which is often. I mean, it's a whole nother level when he's like he was against Jacksonville, where you know you just can't do anything with him, and it's a whole nother level. But these jokers in the second, like you're right though, in the secondary, they cause some of these sacks in the secondary. Like it is, and that's a team that wants to get the ball out quick. And see, and this is why. Okay, I've tried it. See, I tried to be all positive. I really have. And see, this is
For the
where
podcast audience, he took his glasses off.
Well, you'd have to tell the people that. I mean, they could hear the distress in my voice. Listen. This is why this ticks me off. Is like when I think about everything we just talked about defensively, like this is the type of defense where you're talking about like 95 and 97, where the Chiefs were built that way. Like they were built with dominant defenses under Marty. Like you're talking in that stratosphere. What ticks me off is when I say everything out loud about what this team has, if you really understand and know football, which I know many of our listeners do, this should be the best team in Chiefs history. But instead, what we watch every week, I'm not sure as a total team that this team ain't the worst the way they look in the Mahomes era. They got a kicker that can't miss, hasn't missed a kick. They got a really good punter. Like special teams are decent until they try to turn it over, but special teams is pretty good. This is the best defense easily in the Mahomes era. And then when you think about what this defense is, when I say it out loud, you got a top 3 at the very least defense. I'd argue and put them up number 1. You can have the Ravens, whatever. I'd argue putting them number 1 with everything, especially when they're completely healthy, with the versatility and all of the parts they have. But you got a top at the very least 3 defense. You have the absolute best player on the planet, the best quarterback in the game, the best quarterback arguably of all time in Patrick Mahomes. You have a top 10 at the very least, in years past, a top 5 weapon in Travis Kelce. This is arguably, I would say maybe there's an argument for Kareem Hunt the first year that he was here with Mahomes. There's an argument that this with Pacheco is the best running game that you have had in the Mahomes era, right up there. And you have the best coach in football and the best offensive mind since Bill Walsh. When you say that out loud, when you pair that all up together, like that should be the most dominant team that the Chiefs have ever had. That sounds like a top 5 offense and a top 3 defense with a kicker that doesn't miss and a great coach. But they look like they would get housed by every single Chiefs team, including that team that couldn't stop Julian Edelman. They seem like they see when you watch them, like they're scoring 9 points against the Denver Broncos and 19 in the game they win. That's the part that's disappointing, is when I say it out loud and I see the parts, this should be the best team in Chiefs history.
And it all comes down to the offense. It all comes down to, can the offense get this figured out? Ron, if I had simply told you right now,
they just got to score 20, BK. That's it.
If I told you by the end of the year, the Chiefs are 4th in yards per drive offensively and 5th in points per drive offensively, would you sign up for that?
Sure.
Well, as of today, they're pretty damn close to that. The reason why they're not as high as they probably should be, they're 9th in points per drive so far this year. They are 4th in yards per drive, though. They're putting up the yards. They're just not finishing them. They need to score more in the red zone. Right now, you're at the worst red zone offense that you've had in the Mahomes era. If you had simply scored 2 more touchdowns in the red zone this year than what you have, if you finish 2 more of those drives and you convert them into touchdowns instead of field goals, we are talking about a team that would be in the top 5 still in points per drive on the season. So that's just getting them back to their average years under the Mahomes era with Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid. I don't think that's crazy to believe that they'll get back to that. I don't think this is going to be a dominant offense. I don't think there's any range of outcomes in which that takes place. But I think they can be pretty good. And all they've got to do is just finish a couple of more drives, avoid a couple of these interceptions that they've been dealing with so far this year. They're bottom 10 in the league in turnovers on the season. Like, those are the kinds of things that have to change. And if they do, the offense is going to start feeling better, even if it is still kind of herky-jerky overall.
I think...
Well, they haven't done it yet, BK.
But if you're a Chiefs fan with how this defense is playing, and if they stay healthy and they're going to get Nick Bolton back and be even better at some point down the line this season, like if they keep this up all season, and I truly, truly believe that this is an elite level defense, the only thing I think you need to see from the offense this season is that in the playoffs, in the crucial moments, Patrick Mahomes can go make you plays and get a touchdown when you really need one. I don't think any Chiefs fan is confident right now that the offense can do that because they haven't done that this season. And like even in that second half where it's like, 21-7 and the Dolphins are coming back and you're like feeling the pressure and you're like, okay, go do something offensively. Well, they did nothing offensively in the second half of that game. And so I understand if it's hard to feel that way right now, but over the second half of the season, I think that's all you need to see from the offense. They don't have to drop 35 points a game and be the highest scoring offense in the NFL in the second half of the season. You just need to be confident that in a crucial moment of the game, Patrick Mahomes and this offense can be competent enough to go get you a score when you absolutely need one in the playoffs. That's all that matters the rest of the season.
And Ron, if I just ask you this simple question, I'm curious your answer. What do the Chiefs do well offensively right now? And what would you say is the Chiefs' identity currently on offense?
The thing that but they haven't been able to consistently do that, right? I mean, I guess if they do well is Mahomes to Kelce. That's one thing when they can. That's the thing. The two things that I do well, that I think they do well, has limits to it. Whether it is how the defense plays them or what they do to themselves. Like, I think they run the football well with Isaiah Pacheco when they want to. I think they stop themselves in many occasions of running the football and taking advantage of that. See the Denver game. And then I think what they do well is also the obviously the combination for Mahomes and Kelce. I think what were they, like 20? Like they had like 26 targets in a row, completed, something like that. They do that well until like what the Broncos and the Dolphins did, which is what everyone's going to do, is when they just say to hell with it. We're just going to completely take them away. I think those are the two things that they do well, but right now those two things have a limit, whether they do it themselves or not. And the identity, I don't know. I have no idea what the identity is.
And I think that's got to be the goal. Like Serda said, this just has to be a team that Mahomes is able to make the plays late. And that there's a lot of truth to that. There's validity in what he's saying there because the defense is going to keep you in every game. They're good enough to do that, even against the type of competition that you're going to see in the playoffs. But in the first 3.5 quarters, last year I knew who this team was offensively. And you could say they have a very specific identity that they're going to run through at all times. That has to be in the second half of the year coming out of this bye week, what they develop. They have to develop, this is who we are. This is what we do well offensively. And when we really need it, we can always go back to this. And right now, there is nothing that you can point to. Even with Travis Kelce, like, while that is an identity piece for them and something that they do well a lot of the time, it is not something that we have seen over the last couple of weeks that works every time. You got to find that easy button, man. And right now, the Chiefs offense has 0 easy buttons that they can consistently go to.
Yeah, and the thing is, the frustrating thing is that I think there are some there. At least Pacheco. Like, I think that is one that is there. And like the part that was frustrating was when you could see it, like the two things in that second half. It was like, one, just don't do anything to help them. And they did. And then it just felt like, all right, just get one drive. Like one drive to just get points. Like one drive just to get a field goal would just change the complexity of the game. When it's 21-7, if it's 24-7, that changes the entirety of the game. When it got to 21-14, go get a drive to get a field goal. They couldn't do it. By the way, can we take the time? Can we officially say that they're like not playing around anymore and just scrimmaging and not taking it serious, and they'll just can we dismiss that now?
Fine, whatever, fine.
Because they're
bad, all right. They're bad. They're bad.
I'm not saying they're bad, but they sure was trying like hell against the Dolphins in that second half. It was because they were just figuring it out, playing around. Nah, they was trying their ass off for them 38 yards passing that they got in that second half. They were like, all right, so you kind of hinted towards it. And the thought is, are they going to the bye week? And this is traditionally Andy Reid time, right? Where he looks within, sees themselves, what they do well, what they don't, and what things they need to change, and then looks at the game plan. And he's obviously got the historic record after the bye week. And the thought is, what do they need to do? And I'm trying to think of realistic things that can improve coming out of the bye week. And to me, I tried it last week, fellas. I did. I really did. And I think there is still some validity what you guys are saying about the receivers. But I watched that game, and it confirmed even more my feelings of I'm looking at Andy Reid and I'm looking at Patrick Mahomes. And to me, the thing that those two can do is Patrick Mahomes can stop playing like Josh Allen and start playing like Patrick Mahomes in the second half. And Andy Reid can start coaching like Andy Reid and not Matt LaFleur. That's what it feels like. They're not bad. They're not horrible, but they're not to the level of what you think. And as I've said before, these guys, clearly the wide receivers, are going to need help. And one of the things you felt comfortable about was you had Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Well, not when you got Matt LaFleur and Josh Allen masquerading in those jerseys and in that jacket over there. It's not going to be at the top. For me, Andy, I'm telling you, I don't know how Rashee Rice doesn't touch the ball if they are triple teaming Travis Kelce, and the last catch he makes is midway through the second quarter. And it's a hell of a catch, to be honest with you. Don't give me the trust thing, Pat. I'm telling you right now, if I hear that one more time, that Mahomes doesn't trust these receivers, kiss my arse. You better start doing something. You better start figuring something out. I don't know what else Rashee Rice has to do to gain your trust to give him a target after he caught that ball flying to the ground to pick up that and proved to be very important first down. Can you get hey, man, we get a screen for a touchdown. And it don't seem like he would have got stopped. Hell, if he didn't have to be stopped in the end zone, that would have been a bigger game. We don't see that one again. There ain't an on purpose one to get to Rashee. I know many people can't stand Kadarius Toney after that first game. He gets a slant for 19 yards, can't be tackled. We're done. How in the world, the first play of the game, you can get you can scheme up MVS, that stuff. They need help. We get it. But you guys are the helpers. You guys are the fixers. And you ain't doing it.
I think we've seen stretches like this before with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, though, where it feels like they're still trying to figure things out. And you're like, man, we expect so much more out of you guys, and it feels like it's just not working, and you guys haven't figured it out. And I think I talked about it last week. I think Andy really, really needed this bye. He needed it to come, and it's great that coming out of the bye, you have a Super Bowl rematch against the Philadelphia Eagles, because the Chiefs should be locked in for that, and they should dial up a really good game plan. But I think that Andy, for the first time, offensively, they had so many question marks and so many things that probably didn't pan out the way they were hoping they were going to pan out this season. And I think that's going to be the biggest thing. It's not going to be Mahomes. I'm pretty confident that Mahomes is going to get better as the season goes on and over the second half. I think they really needed Andy to get to this bye, to make the adjustments and to dive into everything and figure out what's not working and what he can make work down the stretch, because a lot of it's just not working at all right now.
Ron, I don't know what to do with Patrick Mahomes. I don't know how much to blame him. I don't know how little to blame him. I don't know what to say about him at this point in time, because if we judge Patrick Mahomes on his own standards, what he has set for himself, first of all, we are comparing him to the greatest stretch of quarterback play we have ever seen in the history of the NFL. That is the bar with which has been set for him. So compared to that, it ain't good, man. It has not looked good enough. But he is throwing to receivers that, I know, Ron, you can tell me to kiss your arse, but he doesn't trust them. He doesn't. And I don't know if that's on him or if it's on them. I don't know. He is playing right now behind an offensive line that I don't think on Sunday he trusted them. I think there are times when it seems like he doesn't trust the play call to be able to get the intended result. And all of that being said, man, I look up some of the numbers on Mahomes this year. He's 7th in completion percentage, 7th in touchdown percentage, 5th in success rate, 3rd in QBR. He has the lowest sack rate in the NFL, and he's 5th in net yards per attempt. With how bad this offense has been, how terrible it feels as if he has been playing with a wide receiver core that feels like it can do nothing. He has been, objectively speaking, a top 5 quarterback in the league, because this is, again, like we've been saying about the Chiefs defense, the year of the defense. And all quarterbacks around the league are really struggling to figure things out. So as I talk to you today, Ron, and you ask me how many quarterbacks have been playing, like name the quarterback that has been better without question than Mahomes this season, I don't know that I could quickly rattle a name off for you because all of them, for the most part, have been bad. So I say all of that to say, like, I don't know what to do with him, man. I don't think he's played particularly well, and yet I look at the context of what the league has done around him this year, and it's hard for me to say he's been bad. I don't know what to do with it.
This is the
He's got
strongest
11
case we've
turnovers.
had in a while for a quarterback not to be MVP this season, like across the entire league. Like
100%.
it's been that bad.
Yeah, he's got
And
11
Ron, you said,
turnovers.
sure.
He's got 11
You want to hear some of these other?
turnovers.
Let me give you some of these other numbers. Josh Allen, 9 interceptions. Jalen Hurts, 8 interceptions on the season. Like, we can continue doing this with other guys around the league as well. Everybody's turning it over. Everybody is struggling to move the ball consistently. Quarterback play is abysmal this year. And I
How's
don't know
Lamar
if
doing?
it's Lamar's been really good, but if you look at some like almost any other number other than the turnovers, he hasn't been doing particularly great in terms of the volume statistics.
But
He has
I'm talking
9
about
passing
for,
touchdowns.
he's got 9. They're running. They get a lot of scores from inside the 5 with their running game. And when you talk about
They've got a
everything,
really good running game.
like Lamar's been playing better than he has.
Overall,
like,
their passing game's not a volume passing game. Like, they don't pass it that much, and they also like it's all like sideline to sideline. Like, Lamar's not throwing the football down the field and creating these like big splash plays. Like, they're leaning into, we just need to score 25, 30 points a game, and our defense is going to just crush everybody.
and they're
he's
banging
getting
out
sacked
37.
a ton. He's also getting sacked a ton. Like, I don't know that Lamar has been playing significantly better this year than Mahomes has. I think he's better. I don't think it's by as wide of a margin as we're giving it credit for, though, because I think offense around the league has just been really, really terrible.
Yeah.
So
But
I want to be critical of Mahomes because when I watch these games on Sundays, I think to myself, God, Mahomes has to be better. Like, this is not the quarterback that we are used to seeing. He should not be leading the MVP conversation right now. That's nonsense. That these receivers, we can see them at times getting open and he's not finding them. Like, I want to get on here on Thursdays and just pound the alarm of, guys, Mahomes is not looking like Mahomes. Something is wrong. And yet I look at the context of what's happening around him, and it kind of feels like, Ron, you'll understand this reference. I'm not sure, Serda, unfortunately, that you will, but there was a season a few years ago in Major League Baseball where the home runs were just pew, 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 pew. It was missiles all over the field. It was like,
Juice
yo,
ball.
what's going on here? Like, there you go. What's going on here? Like, good pitchers are getting shellacked. And it turns out it was juice balls. Like, they changed the ball and the entire league changed because of that. I can't explain why that is happening right now because I don't understand defensive mechanics well enough to be able to tell you why offenses are struggling the way that they are. But something is happening in the league right now that is preventing NFL offenses from having success on a regular basis. And the Chiefs, they're the team we watch the most where we see it, but it's happening to all these teams around the league, man.
Yeah, I just my thing is he's not been awful. He's been Josh Allen.
But some people would tell you that Josh Allen's an MVP candidate this year because of how he's played.
Not the way they played recently.
But we know that that's not gonna there's a real difference between Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. Like the Josh Allen and the Patrick Mahomes that we know of. And I'm talking about the things that Mahomes can control. Not the stuff, not the receiver stuff. I'm talking about the things he can control. He is playing like Josh Allen. And Josh Allen obviously isn't bad, but he's a turnover machine. All right. Pat's got 11 turnovers. He's got 8 interceptions and 3 fumbles. And that is, I think Josh is 18-9. I don't know how many fumbles he has. And Pat's 17-8 with the 3 fumbles. The difference between Pat and Josh Allen is they both have high touchdown numbers and yards and explosiveness, but one of them doesn't turn the ball over so carelessly as the other one does. But Patrick Mahomes is doing that. And when you have a lesser cast, they can't afford for him to do that. And that's all I'm saying is Like the way this thing to me most realistically gets fixed and gets better after the bye is those two individuals who Andy, who is what we have seen since he's been here, the best at scheming up things, has got to be the guy that schemes up things more consistently. Like, don't show me the first drive of the game, and now you can't get nobody else open while they're triple teaming Kelsey. That's insane to me. I have the belief that Andy Reid is too good to not be able to figure that out. Like, figure it out to the point. Like, these guys ain't trash. Now, listen, it should be to a point where, hey, if they drop 8 passes, I got it. Like, they're not even like it's not even like McCole Hardman's not running 5 yards past the line of scrimmage.
Trevor Lawrence has been good this year, right? We can agree with that.
He's okay. His numbers aren't great, but he's been all right.
So let me ask this a different way.
Offense hasn't been great, but it's fine.
Who's the quarterback other than Lamar that you think's been good this year? Let me ask it that way, because Lamar this year has 3 interceptions but 10 fumbles. Like, it's fumbling the ball left and right, and they have one of the worst red zone offenses.
How many? He's got 10 lost fumbles,
but Tua's had huge boom games and then kind of average games.
And Tua has 7 interceptions on the season. Like, this is the problem, is we can compare him to these other quarterbacks around the league, and it's just really hard to find the guy that's been playing well. It's really, really hard to find the guy. And
but it's probably CJ Stroud.
Stop.
But you won't hear any argument here. One interception. He's at least not turning the ball over like all of these other guys.
Let's switch him. All right. Let's switch him right now. Listen, again, he is playing in a rate where he is comparable to these guys. And what I'm saying is
right, but these guys have a better surrounding cast right now, Ron. And this is why I'm struggling with it. Like, in my heart of hearts, when I watch on Sundays, I'm where you're at. I am thinking to myself, Pat, this is ridiculous, dude. Like, you have to get it together. At some point, you've got to be able to figure it out with the supporting cast. But the supporting cast isn't good. Like, they've got Travis Kelce, who we know to be a good football player. But Rashee Rice is inconsistent. And then every other receiver that you want to throw out there has not been good this season. They've just flat out been bad. The offensive line, I think, was terrible against the Dolphins. And I think at times this year, even in the passing game, and they've been abysmal with their running blocking, but in the passing game, I think there have been times where they've really struggled. They've struggled specifically with some of those stunts that we've seen. Against the Dolphins, we saw that. Against the Broncos, we saw that. Against the Jets, we saw that. It's been some of the same mistakes that they're having. I think that can get fixed. I think in the bye week, that would be the first thing that I could point to. That'll get better. But I think the stuff around Mahomes is such that it's been really hard for him to just flat out operate in a way that is anything meaningful compared to what we've seen in previous seasons.
I also don't know if, like, when you look across the AFC, like, how many other teams are we actually, like, willing to argue have, like, legitimately better offensive supporting casts than the Chiefs? Like, at least at the top, like the Ravens, like, they got Gus Edwards, Keaton Mitchell, Justice Hill. Mark Andrews is obviously great. But, like, I think Zay Flowers as a rookie is kind of on pace with what Rashee Rice is. Rashad Bateman and Odell Beckham. Like, Odell Beckham is just a total, like, skeleton.
Their offensive line is injury prone and they're in and out.
It's, like the Bengals.
But it's been better than what the Chiefs have.
Like, the Bengals, obviously, and they got off to the slow start because of the Burrow injury. They're coming on now. Like, Cincinnati, yes, absolutely. But, like, Buffalo, it's Diggs and kind of everybody else. Like, they don't really, like, James Cook hasn't been super reliable. Like, Dalton Kincaid's kind of coming on. Gabe Davis is who he is. Like, they're probably at this point, because most of those guys have a couple years in the league, at least, like, they're probably better than what the Chiefs have, but not significantly better outside of Stephon Diggs and him being a legitimate elite number 1 wide receiver. Miami, obviously. Jacksonville, yeah, probably, but, like, it's not, I don't think it's as dramatic as, like, you would think it is when you really, like, dive into it.
Absolutely not. And
yeah, we could go to the NFC too, and I think a lot of the NFC teams, I would say, like Eagles, better supporting cast, Cowboys, better supporting cast, Lions, better supporting cast, 49ers, better supporting cast, Seahawks, better supporting cast.
For sure. But in the
AFC, I mean, we're up to like 13 different teams, though.
Like, In the AFC, I don't think it's
I don't
like
either.
a huge wide gap. In the NFC, absolutely.
And the part that I continue to say that we all expect, and this gets to it again, to make up the gap, is that Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes play and operate like Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Like, I've let you try to go through all these quarterbacks, and that's fine. He generally is on another playing field than the rest of them. And I am sorry that I'm not going to sit here and just accept that it's all of them is why that Mahomes all the time. I'm not going to say none of it, but that it's just all of them that why. Like, the difference of Juju Smith-Schuster and Andrew Wiley 7-7 and Orlando Brown is what it is that they can't deal with. You didn't even look to find Rashee Rice. Not one time. You didn't look like, come on, man. I just like, and Andy is, and here my glasses, they're coming off again because I want to address this too. And this is why I'm getting hot thinking about it, and more points prove. Like, if Isaiah Pacheco doesn't start getting the ball in short yardage, I'm gonna snap, and I'm gonna snap.
Dude, they're so bad at running it in short yardage, though. They can't do it.
Okay, I watched the game against the Jags. I watched the game against the Jets when they made the decision to give the ball to Isaiah Pacheco, and he got first downs in short yardage. And here is my other point that ticks me off even more is, okay, can he at least be on the damn field as a threat? Can he at least be on the field as a decoy? I just watched him.
Michael P. Ryan, third
in
and
the
one.
final possession of the final offensive possession past the kneel down. It's 2nd down and 6 or whatever it is after Kelsey gets the screen. Like, we could have done that a couple of times, Andy. But after Kelsey gets the screen, he gets hit at the line of scrimmage and he pushes the Powell forward for another 2 or 3 yards, and it sets up 3rd and 1. He comes off the field. Hell, I'm playing pass. I'm playing pass because, I mean, I'm like, if you want to give it to McKinnon, but this nut right here, this bulldozer, I'm sorry, the fact that he doesn't even put him on the field as a decoy is the part that makes no sense to me. And yes, I'm sorry, I'd give it to him. And they have been successful. They did it against the damn Jets. They did it repeatedly against the Jags at the end of the game after he was doing stupid stuff against the Lions the week before, and he decided to at least have him on the field. I'm sorry, Andy has known and knows and forgot more football than I will ever. It doesn't make sense to me that you don't even have him in as a threat, and you put McKinnon in the damn game. And besides that, I'll go and snap it to Travis Kelce to hand it to McKinnon instead of putting him. It's just insane to me. Now, you feel differently. It's insane to me that Pacheco's not even on the field, on short yardage.
It's also worth noting, Jerick McKinnon, obviously small sample size, hasn't gotten a ton of carries this season. He's one of the least efficient running backs in the NFL this year. He's 31 years old. Maybe Jerick McKinnon shouldn't be out there in short yardage situations. Like, he's just not been very good this season.
Yeah, I mean, it's been 50-50 so far this year when they've run Isaiah Pacheco on 3rd and short. I think this offensive line stinks in those situations. I think they've been awful. The new tackles that they've brought in, Ron, I think they've been mostly pretty good in pass pro. I think they've had their struggles in the last couple of weeks, but they have really, really struggled in these scenarios. And when they have passed it, like I
hear what BK is saying. I hear him. Yeah, I don't want to run it outside. They have had good amounts of success when they run this thing up the gut, when they run the thing. BK, I hear what you're saying. They've had better. I don't want them run it to the outside to the tackles. No, they've had good success when they run it behind those 3 big jokers in the middle just for a freaking yard. That's it. And just please, even if you want to pass it, Even if you want to pass, I get it. You don't have tendencies. Why is he not on the field? Like,
no, I'm with you. I'm with you.
As soon as that happened, it had to trigger. Like, come on, Andy, you're better than that, man. Like, you're better than that.
I'm totally with you.
At least have him on the field, the threat.
Pacheco's got to be the guy that's in there. I completely agree with you on that, 100%.
And BK, and they'll hand it off to McKinnon. They'll hand it to him,
and that's been horrible.
I think the biggest issue too is that we heard for years now, like Tooney, Creed, Trey, the interior and the running lanes that these guys open up. Like, okay, well, in short yardage, okay, I understand the tackles aren't the greatest run blockers in the world, but in short yardage situations, like if the interior of your offensive line is dominant as it's supposed to be and as talented as it's supposed to be, like you should be able to get a yard. like those guys should be able to get the job done.
Two of the things that I would like to see from this team after the bye, Ron. One, the guy that we've been talking about with Jerick McKinnon, who should not be getting the ball on 3rd and short. I do want to see him get more involved in the offense. I think he can be a part of what helps open up this passing game. We saw this against the Dolphins. The one time that they really got him involved was in the red zone, and he was able to score the touchdown. He is a guy that they typically keep on ice in the first half of the season because he is injury prone, and the hits start to pile up on him by the end of the year when you really utilize him significantly in the first half. I think he's somebody they will start targeting again more significantly in the second half of the season. We saw it last year. I think we'll see it again this year. The other thing they have to do, they have to find a play in short yardage spots. If you guys remember a couple of years ago, it was the fullback trap that they were running, where it seemed to be an impossible play to stop. Every time they ran it up until like late in the season, guaranteed first down on 3rd or 4th and short. They just continuously ran that. They tried the Blake Bell quarterback sneak stuff. They used to have that little behind the line of scrimmage slip screen type of thing that they would run to Travis Kelce. They utilized that at times with McColl in the past as well. They've had specific plays that everybody in the entire audience knows is coming, and nobody can stop it. They don't have that this year. They don't have a play that they can go to that has started to work for them in those spots. That is something they absolutely have to do. I don't know if that's a run play, Ron. I don't know if it's one of the gadget plays that they like to design. Whatever it is, they've got to find something that works in those short yardage situations because they've been terrible in those spots this year.
I think they should just start putting Chris Jones in the backfield in 3rd and 1 and giving him
the way that the Saints have with
yes.
Yeah. Somebody else before Pacheco.
Colin Saunders.
Why not? Somebody else in line before Pacheco. Like if I was Isaiah, I just wouldn't come off. Like Roger Dorn, I'd stand off and I would just no, I'm not coming off the field. No, I'm just like, man, Quentin Williams in the middle of the field, that Jets game, and they were handing it to him, bam, getting first downs. Nah, man, we good, man. At Christian Wilkinson. And by the way, I don't. There was one play where there couldn't have been the plan for him just to come unblocked that ruined the drive. I digress. I just like that. Like Andy and Pat, to me, that's what I want to see. I want to see those guys look like the guys that we've seen, and I think that's one of the most realistic things. Those two should be able to help the deficiencies of the receiving core. And and you should just, like, to me, if Kadarius Toney has success on a slant route like that in a certain matchup, try to replicate it. Try to do it again. Like, show him he's not inconsistent. The trust thing, man. You can kiss off, man. With that a little bit, man. I'm sorry. Like, you didn't trust Rashee Rice the rest of the ball game. Like, you didn't trust him the rest of the ball game. Well, what were you looking for when Travis Kelce is like I just stop. Like,
we saw them start to consolidate the playing time. Now, it didn't consolidate the targets, but the playing time at least was consolidated in this last game at the wide receiver position. They started to just go with MVS, Rashee Rice, and Justin Watson. If you guys could see them just basically pick 3 wide receivers that they're going to have on the field 60+% of the time, the 3 players that you pick, whoever they are, who would you go with the rest of the way? Because I think it's something they're probably going to have to do in the second half, is pick guys and then just bet on them in a big way.
I mean, Rice. Rice, probably Tony, to me, would be in that mix, and either Watson or Hardman.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
would go.
I think that's what it is too. Something similar to that. I think MVS and Watson are interchangeable, and Watson's slightly better.
Yeah, I would go Watson in one of those spots. I think I would go Watson, Rasheed. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think I would go with McColl as the third guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I just think there is those guys have talents and and can do things. I think individually, none of them are great. And for me personally, I don't think Andy, for one, and Mahomes with this trust shit. Sorry. I don't think they have done the
I can't
best.
believe that.
I don't think they have done the best job at getting them in the best spots. Like I just like Hardman runs a screen. Like it's like screens and go routes to me. Like
Yeah.
potentially that stuff, right? Like he runs a screen. Like there's no screen for Tony. That's one of the better things that he does. Like like the slants. There's no there, like. And to me, what happened to like I remember the Bears game. Like this, I'm getting frustrated. The Bears game, they were running Rashee Rice right off of Kelsey as Kelsey was being double teamed, and Rashee Rice was just eating, and it was just easy. It was easy. Nothing was schemed up like that in this game. There was like we can blame the receivers and all this. I just don't think they schemed up things off of Kelsey being defended the way he was in a way to get guys open.
The craziest thing, this team is 7-2. They're the best team in the AFC right now. They have a top 5 defense in the NFL. Their offense is like 7th in points per drive. And we could not be more frustrated. Like that's where we're at with the Chiefs, and it's just glorious. It's glorious. I'm not even mad about it. I think it's the correct way to view the first half of the season. It's been incredibly frustrating.
And it's because Chiefs fans know that if your offense is fighting it, even if your defense is really, really good, you are more susceptible. Somebody say the word I'm trying to say.
Susceptible.
Thank you. I can't get it out for nothing. Susceptible of losing. Like, I mean, you're just more, to where all of a sudden, hey, man, they got 10 points. They got 10 points. Bam, a turnover, and they're in scoring range. And next thing you know, it's 17-10. And you're like trying to figure it out. Like you're losing playoff.
We saw this in 21, right? When they lost to the Bengals in overtime. It's that exact game that you're talking about there.
That, or I mean, even further, when I was younger, you're losing playoff games, scoring when you give up 10 points. You lose to the Colts 10-7. Like you just like when you
2016 Pittsburgh.
Yes, 26-16. Your team just kicks all field goals and beats you because your offense, when your offense just low, and now that we can honestly admit that this isn't a deal where these cats are just playing around, that's the part that is scary. Is like if the Broncos can hold them to 9 and the Dolphins can hold them to 14, there's a real fear that this isn't just, I don't know if it's going to happen. All right, sir, to get my music before I get really angry right now. Let's play the game that is sweeping the nation, certified or imposter. Simply this. We watched this in this game Sunday. Certified or imposter. Trent McDuffie is the Kansas City Chiefs' best corner.
I'm going to go imposter right now. I think Trent McDuffie is excellent. I think he is an elite player. I think that L'Jarius Sneed has proven and done enough this season, like coverage wise, and like just how good he's been at being the guy who has to trail these number 1 wide receivers. Like, I don't think we should just say that because McDuffie's the shiny young toy, we should overlook what L'Jarius Sneed is doing this season. Like, if the Chiefs don't pay L'Jarius Sneed this offseason, somebody's going to give him a bona fide number one corner contract, and he absolutely deserves it. So I think McDuffie is elite, but L'Jarius Sneed is just been so excellent this year.
He's right. He's right. And Ron, you know how much I
can't believe you're saying this.
I
cannot believe you're saying this.
I love Trent McDuffie. If you're just purely asking me like, hey, you can go out there and you have to cover a guy one-on-one for a Sunday afternoon, I want to say that McDuffie's the better dude because I think he's the better pure cover corner. But with the way that they're officiating things this year and the way that this Chiefs defense operates, dude, L'Jarius Sneed is going out there and punching receivers in the mouth consistently. When he's been targeted, opposing quarterbacks are 23 for 40 for 230 yards this season. That is insane. Those are insane numbers for a guy who used to be seen as a liability in coverage. And now he is a legitimate lockdown number one cornerback who's going up against the best wide receivers in the NFL almost on a week-to-week basis and is shutting them down consistently. He can play in the slot. He can play outside. You can blitz him. He's one of the best corners in the NFL when it comes to what he's doing again as a blitzer still. Like, he's amazing, man. This is a guy that they got to get locked up long-term. If they're going to try to do some business during the bye week, he would be the guy that I would talk to because, my God, has he been good.
Yeah, it's imposter if Trent McDuffie is the best. I'm really surprised. I thought Sunday's game was going to reel BK in. It is imposter. I think that L'Jarius Sneed is playing as the best corner in football this year. Like overall, and he, like, to me, the way he's playing, he's already the most versatile because like we're seeing McDuffie blitz a lot from that slot, but L'Jarius Sneed is maybe the best blitzing corner in football.
You don't see do all of the stuff that Sneed's doing.
No, I mean, and he can tackle, and he is in much to your chagrin, he is following and shadowing receivers. Like he is rolling with Justin Jefferson. He is rolling with Keenan Allen. He is rolling. Now I don't think they moved him when he went in the slot. McDuffie kind of hung in there with Tyreek in the slot. But he's rolling. I mean, he is so physical. As you say, man, he's beating these dudes up, right? Like, and I honest to God, like right now, it would be a travesty if he wasn't a first-team All-Pro. Like, if it isn't it right now, it would be a travesty. And they got a pair of good ones. I mean, they got a pair of good ones. We hear a lot about different teams around the league. The team they just played with the Dolphins and their pair of corners. I mean, it was very clear who had the best corners in the game there, man. L'Jarius Sneed is, you talk about a contract year, as our guy, the late Therese Paylor would say, the contract year is undefeated.
By the way, you know how I know Pro Football Focus is a bunch of frauds?
What? They had Trent.
They've got him as they have him as one of the worst corners in the NFL so far this season, and it's his worst graded season of his career. That's insane. He's been awesome.
Yeah, Trent McDuffie is your number one rated.
When I break down the fantasy numbers, all these people cite PFF and like whatever they're grading him on this season. I'm like, okay, well, they haven't watched a Chiefs game because I don't know what they're grading because he has been exceptional this season.
Like, has any of those guys gotten 80 yards? I know Tyreek didn't. I know Jefferson didn't. Did Keenan?
No.
Like, hell, 100. I don't think Keenan got 80 yards, and he's rolling with them.
He had 55.
55. What in the hell?
And they got AJ Brown, Diggs, and Chase like on the schedule.
I cannot wait.
Monra had 71. Calvin Ridley had 32. Garrett Wilson had 60. Jefferson had 28. Keenan Allen had 55.
And in that 71 from Amon-Ra, that was Sneed didn't have a training camp. Like he was coming straight off the injury, and
I don't think he was shadowing him, just shadowing.
No, because he's in the slot, so he mostly was going up against Trent McDuffie in that one.
Yeah. Oh boy, yeah. It's fun to have because I think both of them have a chance to be all pros this year, which is insane. And McDuffie has that moment that people will remember and continue to hear. Pro Football Focus has him rated as the #1 corner. And it's crazy as he might make it, but man, Sneed has been special. I can't wait for that physical matchup between him and AJ Brown. I wonder if he's gonna try to beat him up like he's done everybody else. All right, fellas, we are out.